All right, welcome to Pass the Mic, episode 55 for Friday, January 6, 2023. First episode of 2023. Mike Peyote here on Zoom with Mr. Michael Gervasi. Hello, Happy New Year.
No rapper can rap quite like I can. I take a muscle-bound man and put his face in the sand. You know this. You know this. He's famous. I'll give you a hint. He's an actor. I'll give you one more hint. I performed his karaoke.
I'm going to say Ladies Love Cool James, LL Cool J.
Tim.
I got it with the actor and the song. I didn't need the karaoke. I'm on a 2-game winning streak.
You are. That was from that the song was on Bad, one of his first big hits.
What's your favorite LL Cool J hit?
That one.
Really?
I'm not a big LL fan. He had a few songs later on that I kind of liked, but I wasn't a huge fan of his. So when he talks about being the best that ever done, and I always disagree.
Ladies Love Cool James. That's what LL Cool J is. I'm more of an around the way girl guy than Mama Said Knock You Out. A little more smooth and mellow.
Same album actually.
Yeah. Welcome back. We were able to get one out last week, an episode. I was going to start with that. I was finished up 2022 with not botching the hip hop artist, and I'm starting 23 with getting it. So what a great way that all worked out. We wished our happy holidays. I shared on the Facebook page this Mike themed party.
Yeah.
And this is like a really big thing I'm finding, like people, and I'm sure there's other names people try it with, but I'm only seeing Mikes out there, maybe because there's so many legendary Mikes. There's someone did it for New Year's Eve, and we suggested possibly having a listener party sometime here in 23 where it's a Mike themed party.
Do you think that you and I will ever be legendary Mikes?
Like people will dress up as us at the parties.
That would be great.
Rocco and Kelly Warren, maybe Rocco and Patrick Rice.
I don't know. It's too much jealousy there between those three guys, so I don't see it happening.
We'll have to see, but that's something definitely once the weather gets better. I don't want anything to do with this in this time of year. Although the weather here lately has been not bad. We'll get a little preview of what's to come. Did you have any other feedback or input that came from last week?
Yeah. So the first thing is, first off, I was thanked immensely, but lots about grass cutting.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike Candela. Mike, hey, that wasn't even intentional there. There's another Mike.
Maybe he'll end up on the wall one day.
Yeah. Kent Sikora. Happy birthday, Kent.
Happy birthday today, the day we're recording.
Today, the day we're recording, right. What is it, January 5th? Yeah. Kent Sikora, big fan of cutting the grass too. So I seem to struck a nerve with that. Again, who was it that said, I don't want to get this one wrong. Who was it that said their walk, they really enjoyed us on their walk?
Was that Burguy, Miss Burguy?
Jill? Okay.
Yeah, was it Jill? I think it may have been, yes.
Yeah.
If not, she always enjoys us.
Yeah.
On the Burguys had me over for the big Lions-Bears game, and it was I was introduced as the librarian or union president. I wasn't introduced as the co-host of Pass the Mic, but maybe because you weren't there. So the next party, maybe you'll attend. And
yeah, man, that was, have you ever seen another team? I've seen the Lions quit. I've never seen another team quit. That was the Bears quit halfway through that game.
Yeah, that was, if only we only played the NFC North, we'd have a great record.
Justin Fields it only reminded me, and he wasn't getting beat up as much, but it kind of reminded me of, remember when Devin Gardner was just pummeled by Michigan State?
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
And this clock running faster.
Fields looked like he did not want to be out there.
We'll have a lot to talk about in our sports wrap up because both of our teams are hanging by a thread, and we're actually surprised. So, you are the Mike of the week this week. Who do you got for us?
It's an easy one. May he rest in peace, Mike Leach.
That was
just passed away unexpectedly. Was always a character. Even this year, the last time I saw him in an interview was halftime in the Georgia game. He was lamenting the way the game was being officiated and did it in a comical way. So Mike Leach, may he rest in peace, is my Mike of the week.
And I think, and I don't know his health history. Obviously, he wasn't the most in shape guy in the world, but he wasn't. But I think it just goes, I go every 6 months. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting this stigma that men have sometimes about going to the doctor or whatever. I mean, if you have insurance, I mean, I'm guessing he had great insurance, just get checked up. You never know. It may not have been preventative, but Who
I
knows?
won't comment on that.
Oh yeah, you don't go. Well,
Yes, but for different reasons. But I do advise
yes.
people to go. Yes.
Yep. All right. So with that, our education topic, as we've been off now, the end is near of our nice 2 weeks plus one day off because of the snow day.
Yeah.
I was thinking as I was, my daughter, took our daughter back to Ann Arbor yesterday, and I was thinking about, she's telling me about her new classes and this and that. And we always talked a lot about like preparing people for things and doing things, but I want to talk about today your most difficult classes that you ever had, maybe in high school and in college, and what you had to do to overcome them and your experiences with them. Because it's sometimes we don't talk about it. I do talk about it with my own kids and leadership skills and student council, because I try to give the lesson that failing and struggling is not something to be embarrassed about. If you live in this dream world where you think everyone just grasps everything like that and nobody struggles, nobody has a setback, you're wrong. It's about how you respond to those. And I often tell about my struggles with a certain class in college, which I'll get to in a minute. So I want to talk about, that's what I think would be a great topic to kick us off for this year as a way, because, this, like we said last time, this is the time of year where people give resolutions, talk about things they want to change. So for you, what was your most difficult, if you don't mind doing both a high school and college? I don't know what you prepared for. I have one from each, but what do you got?
So yeah, different classes and different reasons, but the same outcome and same suggestion. So for me, I had a AP Calc class in high school. I ended up taking pre-calc instead. I kind of decided at that point it wasn't for me. But I had a chemistry class in high school that I was really struggling, and the way I got through it, and I ended up doing decently well in there, it was the same way I got through what is my challenge in college. So I'm going to bring that kind of together. I think you have to have the humility to accept I need help and go from there. Some of us are obviously, all of us are good at different things, but if you're not willing, there's no magic bullet for most of us. There's some kids that just naturally perform well in whatever they do. And I was that student until probably ninth or 10th grade, and then things got challenging, and I had to accept that I needed help. And there's help out there everywhere. And so I picked this up in high school when when I had the chemistry class, and I just really had to connect with people that were better than I was at that class, get some tutoring, and I did it. And because of that, I think I came out of it better than I otherwise would have. And then college, student teaching, and it's not a class. I had a student teaching cooperating teacher who was quite a bit on in his years, and we ended up having a good relationship, but at first it was awful. And my advisor didn't do me any favors by kind of revealing to him some of the stuff I had told her, which was supposed to be left in confidence. He told me that later, and he was a little angry.
A FERPA violation.
Yeah, and I'm sure neither one of them are listening right now, so it's okay. Everything turned out great, but I had to have the humility that I wasn't as ready as I needed to be, and I had to go seek outside help. So I sought the counsel of people who had gone through this student teaching recently in the subject area that kind of gave me some advice. I sought the counsel of a lot of people in how they got through it, but specifically in the subject area, because I was struggling. And there was a part of me early on, I'll never forget the moment I was listening to a U2 song, The Hands That Built America. It tells you how much I remember this was from the movie Gangs of New York, that really just, when I was listening to it, it just kind of connected with me at that moment. Really, there's no lyrical connection other than just the sound of that song just brings me back, and I needed help. So I sought out the help of people that could help me get me through. By the time I finished, the kids, I had the respect of the kids. It was at Fortson High School in Dearborn. I had, made amends with my cooperating teacher. We ended up in really, really good terms, actually. But I think it's ultimately just the humility to accept that I need help. And this is what I need help with. It's accepting that and moving on from there. So that's my advice, and that's how I got through it myself.
Great advice. I'm going to be similar with you in high school. For me, I never made it. I took pre-calc as a senior. And then back in those days, if you had enough credits, I had a 6 hour that semester. I just said, I'm done. No mas. I passed it, but I could just go home. And I'm like, I knew I wasn't going to, I was done. And so that's what I did. But to me, even harder was chemistry in my 11th grade year. Hardest class I ever took in high school. I think it's because it's a combination of both the math, some a little math in there, and but like the knowing the whole periodic table, and man, I just had it was a lot to study, in my opinion. Whereas, like in other science classes, like biology and anatomy, it was stuff you could study that you could just remember,
Yes,
and had a
yes.
really tough time. I'm not saying the teacher I had was fine, Mr. Howard Brish. It
Yeah.
wasn't him. It
Right,
was
right.
me. It was just one of those classes. A lot of other things came natural to me. I actually had to work and study more. And a lot of my friends that we were in that class that will still say that was because like all of a sudden you're all nervous about going into physics as a senior, and all of a sudden physics, I've talked about it before here with Mike Clementi. I seem to not struggle in there.
Yeah.
And to me, it was definitely that. And then in college, when I first started my teaching program, I started off as a computer science major.
Really?
Um, yes, because back then they're like, oh, you can't get hired with English or history. You got to. So I like, all right, so I'll take this computer science. It's something I like. I'm interested in. I took a couple of the early classes that were okay. Some of those I didn't even get to because I had to take this math class. Like if you were just doing general ed, you could have taken like math 101 if you weren't going. But computer science, you needed this elementary linear algebra class, which I'm like, oh, elementary algebra. This can't be that tough. No, that's not what it means. This was tough. It was a 4 exam class. You know what I'm talking about? That's all it
Yeah.
was. It
Yep.
was 4 exams.
Absolutely.
I didn't take a W in this class. I took a flat out E. And it's
Oh,
not because I didn't go. It's not because I didn't try. I went, and I talked to another buddy of mine that was taking more math classes. And I told him about the instructor I had. And he's like, well, there's this other instructor that teaches it, and she does do part homework. I would take her because I
yeah.
didn't want that E on my transcript. Even though at that point I knew I wasn't going to need that math class, I either had to live with it on my transcript as an E, right? And then I go take the other math class that's easier and move on, or do I retake it, get it done, it covers what I need, and I decided, okay, I'm going to retake it. And again, I seek to help out people back at people at home that taught math. This professor was okay. You could use daily. There were a couple homework assignments. I still remember my saving grace 1 exam. She was sort of the same way too. There's like 3 or 4 exams. Like the
Mhm.
third exam, she said you can take. After she graded it, she gave it back to you and said you could take this home and fix up to 2 problems to get regraded. And I literally went all the way home and worked with a community college math teacher that was a neighbor, did those two, and I ended up getting like a C+ in the class. Like I
Mm.
scratched and clawed. But what
Yeah.
that does is the way it works. I don't know about every college, but at Eastern, the way it worked is the E still appears on the transcript, but the grade point is factored in
Yeah.
with the C+. And that to me, man, and that was the only college math class I took. And it was a struggle. And that's right. I used that story. I could have easily said, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to drop out of school. I can't pass this math class. And I didn't. And I didn't just, I had no problem. And the funny thing is, and I had Nate Matatal come and speak to my leadership skills class. People like to help people, but you
Yeah.
got to take that step.
Right.
And there's no shame in asking for that help. And sometimes that could be the difference that gets you over the top for a grade, gets you in for an internship or anything. Don't be most people that you're going to go to. I think 9 out of 10 times people are like, okay, let me see when I can. I mean, the worst thing they'll say is, oh, I don't have much time right now. When can I open up
Right.
some time? I don't think anyone's going to come out and say, get lost. I don't want to help you with this.
Especially in college where so many people just understand what you're going through because a lot of times they went through it. Or even beyond that, you're just with people, like-minded people in a sense of the direction you're going and they want to help. And I sought out tutoring. I had a couple math classes in college. And I will say I took a chemistry class and a physics class in college. They were actually easier than the ones I took in high school, which is
So,
was really bizarre to me. It might have been because of what I went through in high school, but
yeah.
that was, yeah, you just have to be willing to go that extra mile, and accept the adversity. And like I said, be humble enough to admit, I need help in this. So,
Yeah, that happened with my physics class at college, and I still think it's because Mike Clementi prepared me so well
yeah,
in high school. I never did as well. I mean, I had English classes that were harder than this physics class, and that's crazy for me to say. So
yeah,
we'd love to hear from our listeners. We
yeah,
know that people, and that's the other thing too about college. You'll have people with different strengths, and they're willing to help you out, and then you can help them out with what your strength is.
sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? And take advantage of that. Don't struggle on your own. That's the same for being in high school too. We'd love to hear from listeners. What we won't if you don't, we won't use your name if you don't want us to violate your FERPA rights. You don't have to be like me and come right out and say you failed a class. It's on my transcript. I can hold it up for everyone to see if they want. But I wasn't being hired to teach elementary linear algebra. But we'd love to hear what people struggled with. If you're one of those geniuses that never had a problem, congratulations.
Yeah,
We're
right,
proud of you. You're
right.
welcome to comment as well. All right, over underrated this week. Uh, Again, we did fall weather a few weeks back. I figured as we sit here on yesterday was just gorgeous. Second half of the day was gorgeous.
Mhm.
And we have been known in the past to knock Michigan winners. So we're gonna have to scratch and claw and find an underrated for Michigan winner. What is your overrated, underrated for Michigan winter time?
My overrated's easy. The cold and the snow and the weather. I mean, you know, that awful storm, that awful Arctic front that we had come through here. I had some siding blow off my house, hence the reason why I said owning a home is overrated.
That was last week. Yeah.
There is nothing about this cold weather, not this cold weather, but the cold weather that I like, and the snow. It's just not for me, man. So
If you had to live in the extreme, like the extreme winter to you is awful, whereas the extreme if you got to pick one. Obviously, we're in a state that the famous four seasons. You can handle the extreme heat. Like
I'll
you're
do
not
it.
gonna.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because to me, like I would like to walk the dog as much as possible. Like I have a goal of 5 days a week in the winter months. When that gets to be March beyond, I'm going to bump that to 6. But the problem is there is no walking the dog like last Friday and Saturday or that first day of break. There's no going out there.
Right, right.
90 some degrees, I can get up at 6 in the
Yes,
morning and beat that weather and do it and not be miserable, like not be dangerous to me or my animal
right.
out there. And I totally get with you. To me, and I kind of figured you're going to go with that. So I'm going to have a little branch off of that because I figure it's just too easy. Um, so mine is weather, and my main factor is like even like yesterday, it was like gray for like 80% of it. Like where does the sun go in this state from
Right.
November to March?
I was
I
thinking
don't
about that
understand.
yesterday.
I, I don't mind a 30, 25-degree day if this at least the sun's out. Like where does it go? Like why does it disappear? The science people can maybe explain. Do others, is the whole northern hemisphere, is Minnesota and Illinois the same way? I see these TikToks about people moving to Michigan and they say this, that's the first thing they say is like, what happened to the sun?
Yeah.
Like you get it, it's going to be cold, but why does it have to be gray? I look outside right now,
Depressingly, yes.
depressingly gray for like, and then I go to my doctor and they run my blood, not to freak you out, and they're like, your vitamin D is really low, and I'm like, you think? I go, what do you want me to do? Like I can't. Like so is probably everyone else's here
Yeah,
in the
for
state of
sure.
Michigan. So, do you have an underrated?
I
Do you even
do.
have one?
I do. I do. You know what? I do think I like okay, so when we get that snow day. I'm not gonna say snow days because that's not what I'm getting at
School
here.
safety day.
Whatever. When you have that the night before and you know it's coming, there's this feeling I get with when I have my kids that it's like I feel a camaraderie with them. You know, I feel like we're in this together. This weather sucks, but you know what? We're all together, and that's really all that matters. So it's that feeling of camaraderie um, with my family when you know that that's happening.
For those of us in the education field and the kids that are right.
Yes, yes. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Yes, yes.
it has changed, and I feel like it's changed drastically because in the first half of our career, it was always like a phone call, like 5:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
and then we would have to like get our phones and call down the phone tree, like
Well,
talk
then,
about
yeah,
antiquated, and then like if you then people would be missed or
don't
people would
screw
always
that
screw it
up.
up.
Yeah.
Like
So
I would, and then like I would old story. I would always go to Beth Wilson and like I'd get her like a little gift card or something, and I'd be like, hey, put me at the bottom of the list. So if you were the last person,
yeah.
I wouldn't. You don't even have to answer. I would if I knew that person A above me is calling me. I looked, and I would
Right.
just put my phone aside, and I had nobody to call. And so that was an old little trick
We
I
had some
used back in the.
we had some crotchety staff members too that didn't like getting that call either. I won't say any names, but they'd hang up
Oh
on
yeah, but now I think because in part of it, when you think about what a lousy way to do it, if you were had like a full-time job and you had kids, this new method of doing it the night before, while you may lose the gamble here or there, storms could change. And I know we
sure.
didn't get a lot of snow that last storm, but it was still like the
Oh,
cold would have
it
done
was
it anyway.
awful.
I think
It
the
was
cold was
horrible.
awful. But yeah, sometimes, they say 6 to 8 inches. All it takes is a warm front to last a little longer, and
Right.
6 to 8 can become 2 to 3.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
could you end up calling it off and it ends up being a mistake? Yes, but I think nowadays that most people have multiple people working in the home. Like if I wasn't in education, and all of a sudden I got a call at like 5:30 in the morning. First of all, my wife's on the road by 6, okay, and for her job on days she leaves. If you have like kids, what do you do? Like so
Yeah.
this way, at least if it's the night before, you can maybe team up with a neighbor, call a family member that lives nearby. I understand the whole night before thing. I think in my mind, you should always do that unless it's like a freak emergency. And I think more and more places do that.
It's funny. And I'm actually going to talk about this in a future episode. I'm not going to talk about it today, but I had jury duty some years back when there were snow days. And the court, I was surprised. I was wondering what they would do. We had a bunch of jurors show up late. It was actually the day of the verdict, and
Oh
they
man.
they were understanding. I was really
Oh,
surprised by this. There was nobody got
well, I
no.
think that they made the effort to get down there. I mean,
Yeah, and it was there was a couple people that were about 2 hours late, but it was horrible. We, like I said, we had a snow day at Carlson that day. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Jury duty is something I kind of have a list of my hot mics. I'm going to talk about that later.
okay. Well, yeah, we'll keep people hanging for future
Yeah,
episodes.
right.
My underrated, and a lot of I think COVID brought some of this about, but not necessarily. I like how a lot of the communities around here have embraced the winter and have created and designed things to at least make it sort of unique and interesting and fun to do. Some fun to do winter things
Mhm.
and outdoor dining. Remember that became, these poor restaurants
Yeah,
had
right.
to survive, did that. But a lot of places sort of do have this igloo dining now that's sort of outside too.
Yeah,
Even now that COVID's over, sort of like this unique thing, you can go do this there. Downtown, we went downtown after Christmas to Campus Martius, and I know the tree, they're going to keep it up for a little bit, but they still have that whole winter area. They're going to have that. I think they do the Winter Fest all the time. The cities and towns around here have adopted sort of, okay, we know it's cold and we know it's miserable, but we don't want people to be locked in their houses from November to March. We want them to spend money and do unique things. So I think there's a lot of unique things that the towns and cities try to do, whether it be
yeah.
outdoor skating rinks or just things like that, to, festivals,
The wintry
ice
look.
carving
You
festival.
drive
Yeah.
through.
And it looks nice with the lights
Right,
on. I mean,
right,
and it's not just a thing up to Christmas. They keep it going all the
right,
time. So
right.
that is a nice thing. But still, I've only traveled once twice. I was a kid once, and then years ago we went to I've been to Hawaii once at Christmas, and I was in Phoenix once on Christmas. There's nothing nicer than being in shorts and there's still lights in the trees. I tell you what, you don't lose any feeling of Christmas just
Sure.
because it's not freezing and snow. So we'd love to hear whatever people. I'm sure our skiers are gonna tell us how great it is, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have loved to have been going down the slopes on that -1 degree day, uh, or ice
Yeah.
skating outside. So,
Right.
with that, what is your hot mic take for the week?
All right, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna send you a link here. We were talking about this recently, and the best game we've ever attended, right?
Okay.
And how do I get this message to you? I want to know if you, you know what? I can't for a reason. Maybe I've forgotten how to do this. Oh, here we go, chat. I want to know if you could share the screen here. Hey, Nate Dogg in the house.
Nate Dogg just
Um,
waking up. Must be nice. 118.
yeah. Um, so I sent you this link. Can you share the screen and maybe this was the greatest sports moment of any sporting event I attended. I want to
Okay,
kind
hold
of
on
talk
1 second here. This
about
is
20
this is
seconds.
a this is a high tech ask. So let's. I've
Share
never tried
screen.
this on a. I've never tried this on a recording, but we'll see. Let's go here. Share screen.
Yeah.
The audio is going to be in my ear. Is that okay? Do you need the audio?
No, I don't think so. And I'm going to talk about this after you show it.
Hold on. Let's.
Maybe we shouldn't have done this. Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Is this what we want to see?
Yep.
And does it look all right?
Looks
Here we
great.
go. All right. Good.
So, all right. So I want to talk about this, and I want to hear from the listener here. Doing another sports
And
related.
if the audio didn't transfer to our audio listeners, it was Chauncey Billups hitting that half
Yes.
court three against New Jersey, right?
Yeah. So this is game 5. Now this is when the Pistons were good. 2004, Pistons were actually good. I'm kind of trying to direct that at Nate behind you there, but anyway. So this is game 5, conference semifinals, and just kind of give some perspective here. The Nets had knocked the Pistons out the year before. They actually swept them. So, but the Pistons were still up and coming. And that game, so Chauncey Billups hits this half-court 3 to send the game to overtime. The game ends up going to triple overtime. Sadly, the Pistons lost. But I don't know if you and I were having this discussion or somebody else, but what is the best live sporting event you've ever attended? And it really came down to this and another game, which I'll talk about in a second. But that moment was one of the best moments, like putting aside when your kids were born, all that obvious stuff. Just it was a moment of euphoria that I very rarely experience. I actually jumped over my seat and landed in somebody else's beer, and he didn't even care. Like, it was because it was that much of the crowd, and it was like, it's the playoffs, and the NBA drags things out in the playoffs. There was about a 3-minute TV timeout after that, and I'm telling you, the crowd for 3 minutes was just up. It was crazy. So I want to know the best, and it's weird for me to say it because, again, they lost that game, and I don't know if I'd feel the same way if the Pistons didn't end up winning the title, because I remember leaving the arena that day, and everybody left at the same time. So, the Palace only had like 2 or 3 exits, and you were kind of stuck in traffic. But it was a horrible feeling, and I don't know if I would tell you how great of a game it was if they don't end up winning the championship that year, which means they had to go into Jersey in Game 6 when they were the New Jersey Nets, not the Brooklyn Nets. They had to go in and win that game and then close them out and then end up winning the championship. That was the best sporting event. That was the best moment of the best sporting event I've ever attended live and in person. The only other one I thought of, it was actually a baseball game to make fun of baseball, but I went to a game with Jason Gomez and a buddy of mine, and Max Bailey actually was there. We actually hooked up before the game, and Max Scherzer came in the 8th inning, bases loaded, nobody out against the A's. It was game 4 of the playoff series. The Tigers were on the ropes, and he got bases loaded, nobody out. He was able to get out of that inning, and if you watch the footage of that, he goes into the dugout after that. He's so fired up. That was the only comparable one. And I've been to some pretty good events, but that Chauncey Billups moment was the best moment of any game I've ever been to. So what I want to do is I want to hear from the listeners, the sports fans listeners. What is your best sporting event you've ever attended live and in person?
So even though they lost the game, right?
They lost the game, yeah. But
I think Wiseau, if I remember correctly, Wiseau Music, we were DJing a wedding that night, and I was following on my phone.
Yeah.
And
but like, it was, and if you remember, I mean,
and much older technology. I wasn't able to watch. I was like just getting score, like scores.
And you and I kind of talked about this again. The Pistons were still, and they won it that year, and the momentum built after that series. But for us diehard Piston fans, it wasn't. I remember one game in particular earlier in the playoffs. They lost to Milwaukee. Mike, I was going to all the playoff games at the time because you could. And this guy was like, come on, everybody get up. If there was Red Wings, we'd all be up, because the Pistons were not. They had some down years since the championship. They went through the Teal era. And, they traded for Rasheed Wallace. And it looked like, to me, they had a good enough team to compete. I didn't think they were going to win it that year. I thought the Lakers were just too good. But, man, it was a moment I will never, ever forget as long as I live. It was such a cool moment.
It was, it's funny, with everything that happened with just Franco Harris passing right before the Christmas holiday and the 50th anniversary. He was Immaculate Reception.
Right.
My dad was telling Nate the story. My dad was at that game, so I'm sure if there's a game, any Steeler fan that was at that game, that has to be it. But my dad, this is another reason why I will never leave anything early, had left his seat and started making his way down. And this is the era before cell phones or anything, obviously 70s. And and I don't know how much this is legend embellishment or whatever. And as he's coming down this ramp, he says he walks by and the elevator opens and Art Rooney is there too, walking out, and then all of a sudden there's this uproar, and then he said that's when he forked his head back in the corridor and knew that they had won the game, but he had no clue what could have happened. So I had imagined that would be. Yeah, he was at that game. For me, I'll share the video. I have a YouTube clip that I took live, a video clip that I took live of the Rose Bowl that Nate and I went to, that Michigan, the 4th down stop, the famous. And we had really good seats, and it happened to happen right about at where we were at the yard line. So what I'll do is I'll share that video on our Facebook page. And that, to me, that's it, because like I said, I've been to this Super Bowl where the Steelers lost, the AFC Championship game where they lost, so those two are out. I was at the Tigers playoff game where Kenny Rogers pitched and had the substance on his hat, maybe. It was a good game. He won, but it wasn't sort of like this dramatic, that's the thing about baseball playoff games. Unless it's like the Ordonez home run, okay, you won game 1, you won game 2, there's different types of levels, I think, for baseball. No offense to baseball.
No, and that Max Scherzer game I was telling you about, the Tigers were up by 1 run at that point, but they were down in the series 2-1, and they lose that game, they lose the series. Scherzer, bases loaded, nobody out. They easily could have lost that game and been done, and it was just a really neat moment. Baseball playoffs, and we haven't had that in a while around here either, can be very electric, and every pitch matters. That's why that one was so cool.
Yeah, very good, great topic. And for me, my hot mic take, yes, as I mentioned yesterday, we took Chloe back to, or Wednesday, we took her to back to campus. Went out to dinner first in Ann Arbor. It was a little misty, rainy night, and she had about 3 or 4 bags of, clothes she washed, her school supplies, obviously some snacks and stuff to bring them. Not a full move in, but enough that we couldn't just leave her at the door and walk in. So we walk into the beautiful West Quad, and there's a gentleman waiting there holding a computer monitor, a young college kid. I don't know. This, and everything now is card key, right? Like, it's not, I don't know about you, back in Eastern, you could walk into any dorm building pretty much and just walk in. So Chloe opens up the door and I follow in and I let the person in. I don't know. I'm not going to shut the door in this guy's face. It's raining, but that's not even the point of the story. That could be a whole other hot mic topic. What do you do in those? What do you do in those situations?
Right.
Do you let the person in or not? We get to the elevator, and those elevators are pretty good size actually, because kids are moving things in and out, right? Like, we get into the elevator, the door opens. There's like 3 or 4 college kids, young boys, young gentlemen. There's a full couch in this elevator, it looks like from the lobby. Okay. And I'm like, and they get out and they just leave the couch and they're like, we didn't do it. And so now I have this dilemma. I'm like, my hands are full. I go, do I pull this couch out into the lobby or do I get in? The gentleman I let in is right behind me as well with this computer monitor waiting to get in. And I'm like, I'd look at my wife and Chloe. I'm like, well, get in. I'm like, I'm not moving this thing. So we all hop in. There's barely room. The fourth person, the guy gets in with us with his monitor. There's a fifth kid. He's like, is there room for a fifth? And I go, no, there isn't. There's a full couch in here. So we hit the 4th floor. The dude with the monitor sits on the couch, which I thought, well, why not? You gotta.
Yeah, right.
I'm still standing with this bag. We go up. Elevator opens. There's the most awkward part. I never think is when the door opens. There's people waiting to get on this, and so you have to do the same thing those kids did, and we have to explain to them and say, I don't know, man. We just put it in. We go, and then I proceed to, as Chloe's like setting up a room, I'm watching down the hall. These guys try to get this elevator out of the 4th floor. Now here's the problem, and I wanted to sort of explain to it, but this is Michigan, brightest and best. On the floors with dorm rooms, there's not much room. Like, you open, it's the hallway and it's the rooms, whereas the lobby, there's, and these kids are trying to get this thing out on the 4th floor, and I sort of want to go down there and be like, you should probably just keep it in there, go down to 1. I didn't. I let it go. I just thought, hey, man, my hot mic take of the week is college pranks are just as goofy and dorky as they were in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Can you, like of all things to do, like, I mean, obviously there's not, and the one thing is, the one guy that was waiting to come in, he must have been in and left his card in. He's like, I swear this, because I just rode this elevator down not more than 10 minutes ago, and this wasn't in here. So it was a recent prank of some sort. So yeah, so that was my college experience. It didn't involve any free Miller Lights or bongs of hits of anything. So, because of course, family friendly.
Family friendly, right?
Yes. All right, here it is. We think the last week of the NFL season. Of course, the tragedy that took place, which, by the way, breaking news out of Cincinnati, the health is improving greatly. That's a great thing out of a good Pittsburgh guy. But the NFL schedule, it sounds like this weekend is going to be the final week season's games. We don't know what we're going to do this other game. Lions need some help. I don't think they're going to get it. I think by the time Sunday night rolls around, they're going to be done. I hope they beat Green Bay, though. Still, that's my. If we can't make it in there, at least don't let Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in.
I agree. We're getting that way.
And
I don't. I think you're right. I don't think Seattle's going to win. I mean,
you don't think they're going to lose?
I think Seattle's going to win. Yes, I don't think Baker May. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan this weekend. Detroit Rams, all that other stuff we did a year ago. Let's all be Rams fans this weekend, right? But I do think that the Lions will win and keep Aaron Rodgers out.
Well, and again, what if the Lions game against the Vikings earlier, to me, is going to be the big what if game. You had to leave, and I don't know what happened in that Carolina game. The Steelers went down to the week before and shut that run offense down, and I just, man, that I think that's their what if game. If I go back and look at the Steelers season, because they're not going to make it in either, they need too many things going on. I think their big what if game is the Jets game and the Patriots game. Both games I think were in. I'm going to call it Heinz Field. I'm not calling it the new name. They were up on the last drive of the 4th quarter. Tomlin to me has done an amazing job again, because he had no Watt for most of the season. He's somehow probably going to end up with a winning record again with a quarterback switch mid-year. But to me also, even if they would have won one of those two games, they're not beating Buffalo and they're not beating Kansas City. They would be in the same spot they were last year.
Sure.
They're just good enough to get in, but they're not good enough to go. And I don't even think they could beat Cincinnati again. So it's probably best that they beat. I hope they do beat Cleveland, and then they just get an offensive lineman. But again, these people that want Tomlin fired, I don't know what
I know
what they want in their place. The guy did an amazing job this year. Again, Kenny Pickett's a rookie. It looks like he might be the right guy.
right.
But so it looks like they're in the same really spot as the Lions. Like next year, they should be, no more of these what if games.
Yeah, take a step forward, right?
Going forward. So we're back to work next week. Probably be able to record in the studio. We want to wish again everyone a healthy and happy 2023.
Missed something though.
What do we miss?
Michigan.
Oh, yeah, try to put that behind me. I was way wrong. I was very overconfident.
And you could look back on this game, and I remember some of the callers calling in saying it was going to be a blowout, and that was problematic to me unto itself. I did still think Michigan was going to win. I actually thought they were going to win even into the third quarter.
Yeah, same thing. I was tweeting they're going to win by 10 points in the second half.
You can't overcome that many mistakes
Nope.
in a game and expect.
Nope. And I'm not going to be. I have become a Michigan fan, but I'm not turning into the blame the ref Michigan fan. Yes, there were bad calls. I get it, but we texted about this. I texted you during the Steeler game when Hayward got a terrible unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, awful call that went from being Baltimore should only scored 9 points in that game. They end up getting a free extra play. They score the touchdown. Very much could have been the game difference. But you have to do what Pittsburgh did. You have to say, okay, this sucked. We have to overcome this and do this. And again, I get it. I get even if it's something totally black and white. The one play on the touchdown, don't fumble the ball in the next play.
Don't call
the touchdown from a yard out.
Trick play to a freshman tight end, on the goal line early in the game. I mean, it just was.
When it's 3rd and long and you just scored and you can make this team punt, don't give up a 75-yard touchdown. Don't miss that tackle.
God, man, it's a frustrating thing to talk about, but I at least wanted to address it.
Yeah, no, and this was clearly their best. This was the most wide open year of every year for the playoff, I think, so far to win the title. So it's sad, and now it's the whole talk about coaching and changing, but we're not going to get into that today. So that's it for this week. We thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.